Good afternoon, everyone. I am Maya Almohina Colara, a cellist of Manila Symphony Junior Orchestra, and your MC for today. Welcome to the last leg of the MSJO International Masterclass Series 2021. This series is a program of Manila Symphony Junior Orchestra in cooperation with Standard Insurance that aims to nurture and promote the Filipino musical talent and give them opportunities to shine in the international stage. The MSJO is the youth orchestra project of the Manila Symphony Orchestra Foundation Incorporated and is a multi-awarded orchestra having won the second and first prize at the Summa Cum Laude International Youth Music Competition held in Vienna, Austria in 2017 and 2018 respectively. Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the presence of the MSJO faculty members, Ms. Sarah Maria Gonzalez, Professor Maurice Ivan Saraza, Professor Diomedes Saraza Jr., Professor Arnold Josue, and Professor Jeffrey Solares. Thank you for your unwavering dedication and guidance. To give us more insights into this wonderful program, may I call on the Director and Principal Conductor of MSJO, Professor Jeffrey Solares.
Thank you, Maya, and welcome everyone to this last leg of our masterclass series for this month of May. The MSJO is very excited to learn from all these wonderful professors that we've invited these past weeks. 2 weeks ago, we started with Germany based Filipino violinist Justin Texon, and last Sunday, we had the Iskandar Wijaja, also based in Berlin, to coach our violinist. And in the evening, we had a Filipino who is in Brazil, Jerry Barona, who is a violist, and he taught our violists. And today, we will have another very accomplished Filipino musician, cellist Dr. Victor Michael Koo, who has been in Taiwan for many years, and he has graciously agreed to join us and listen to our young cellists in the MSJO, Luis, Trom, and Talia. And it's a very nice experience, not just for the performers, but also for the rest of the MSJO who is able to watch and listen, no? As great teachers give their insights on the performances of our participants. In a master class, it's not only the students who are playing, who are learning, but also anyone who is watching and who's paying close attention can also gain a lot of insights. Now, this masterclass series is being shared live in YouTube, so the public can also benefit from this learning experience. As you know, Manila Symphony Junior Orchestra is a training orchestra, and it is our aim that our musicians, young Filipino musicians, will gain all the experience and all the opportunities that we can provide so that we can bring these Filipinos, no, the talent of Filipinos, closer, to the international standards, and somehow also bring up, the level of string playing here in our country. In the same way as our guest, for example, Dr. Victor Michael Koo, has really carried, this has really been an example for our musicians. For this series, we deliberately invited Filipinos who have accomplished in the international stage and are very well respected in the countries where they are in. So, again, thank you very much for joining us. And Maya, please introduce our guest.
Dr. Victor Michael Koo is a Doctor of Musical Arts in Cello Performance graduate at Michigan State University. He earned his Master of Music at University of Maryland, College Park, and his Bachelor of Arts in Music degree from Columbia Union College in Tacoma Park, Maryland. A first prize winner of the National Music Competitions for Young Artists, Dr. Koo currently resides in Taiwan, where he is an active soloist, recitalist, and chamber musician. He is a faculty member of several schools in Taiwan, including Taipei National University of the Arts and National Kaohsiung Normal University. He is also a cellist of the Voyage String Quartet. Friends, let's all give a warm welcome to Dr. Victor Michael Koo.
Hi, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. I'm very excited and thank you very much for this opportunity to listen to our young musicians, young cellists in the Philippines. And thank you for the introduction. And I don't know, I'm excited to hear everyone. So, first one we have Talia, which I believe I also heard a week ago. So I think she will be playing the Bach suite, the Saraband, and the jig of the first suite.
Okay, Maya, please introduce our first performer.
Tatum Julia Bao, or Talia, is a cellist of the Lourdes College Strings, a string orchestra project of the Lourdes College in Cagayan de Oro City. In 2018, she was invited by Professor Arnold Josue, her mentor, to join the Manila Symphony Junior Orchestra in their participation at the 12th Summa Cum Laude International Music Festival in Vienna, Austria, and their concert tour in Austria and Italy. Last year, she was awarded a gold medal for the performing arts when she graduated from senior high school. Currently, she is a freshman at the University of Santo Tomas, taking up Bachelor of Music major in Music Education, cello emphasis. She continues to be an active member of both the Lourdes College Strings and the Manila Symphony Junior Orchestra. To, to perform Saraband and Jig from Suite Number 1 for unaccompanied cello, BWV 1007 by Bach, let's all welcome Tatum Julia Bao.
Hi, I think I cannot. Okay, I will start my video now. Okay. Hi, Talia. Uh, I'm glad to hear you again. Actually, I heard you last week also and playing the bach, and this time you brought the saraband and the jig. So I want to share a few things, and I think last time I talked a little bit about the different editions, and then hoping that we can understand a little bit better looking at the original manuscript. But then, of course, unfortunately, the original manuscript that we have that's very the closest to Johann Sebastian Bach is by his wife Anna Magdalena. But we'll go a different direction this time. I think we'll go a little bit more into the character of the dances. Okay, so of course I also talked a little bit about it, but then this time, since it's special, we have a saraband. So for the saraband, when we play these dances or for playing Bach, we oftentimes hear teachers talking about pulse. Okay, so what exactly is pulse when teachers are talking about? Is it about the beat? Like for example, in the saraband, we know that there are three beats, but then how do we exactly feel the pulse of the music? So for example, here we also understand that in the saraband we would like to go to the second beat, or we have the emphasis on the second beat. Yeah. And then there are different ways how to do it. But then I think from what my observation from your performance right now is that because I think a little bit of the tempo that you're playing, I felt that the pulse was in eighth notes instead of quarter notes. So I felt that each one is being subdivided into eighth notes. Okay, so that one, it's a little bit hard to feel the groove of the dance getting into the second beat. So can you try again, just playing just a little bit faster tempo? Maybe just try. Okay, can you try a little bit beginning? Okay, good. So we need to remember that a saraband, it's still a dance. So in some ways, we want it to feel like it's still danceable in some ways. Okay, so of course, we do understand that these suites, they're not really meant to use as the music for dancing, but it is based on dance music. So we still need to have that understanding. So for example, for me, for saraband, it's like it needs to still have that feeling of the direction. Because in dance, it's not just about moving forward. Okay, so for example, what is the difference between someone dancing and someone just walking? I mean, they're both moving, but then in a dance, you feel that the rhythm or the tempo somehow changes. So this one, from the first beat to the second beat, I would like to feel that there is a push or there's a moving forward to the second beat. So here, maybe also. Okay, and then another thing that I would like to suggest is that if we're feeling the beat a little bit more on quarter notes instead of eighth notes, think of the beats as it's like a space. Okay, so each space that we have, the smaller the subdivision. For example, the eighth note, the subdivision, so the space that we have becomes a little bit smaller. So if it's a quarter note, that means it's a little bit bigger. So that means in a quarter note, if you have the 16th notes, the 4/16th notes, you actually have a little bit more room to do a little bit differently. If it's 8 notes, you have the two 16th notes in the 8th note. It feels like you need to be always on time on the next 8th note. Do you understand what I'm saying? Or am I? Yes, okay. I'm afraid I'm talking fast and if it's not clear. So for example, I will play a little bit on the second measure. So if it's 8th note, da, 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 so I need to be on time on the third 16th note. So it becomes, or, but even if it's just one beat, your space, the time that you have, you just need to be on time on the second beat. So it can be. So it's more about the freedom that we have. I think the freedom is about how we feel the beat. If we subdivide smaller and smaller, that's kind of like less freedom for us. But then if the subdivision is a little bit bigger, like for example, if we're doing a different dance, if you feel it in a measure or you feel it in 2 measures, then you have much more room to do something else. Okay, so it's not gonna sound, for lack of a better word, it's like metronomic. Okay, so can we try again the beginning a little bit? Okay, so sorry, Talia. So for example, on the third measure also, so that 2 8th notes. So you need to make sure that this, it doesn't feel like they're equal in some ways. You have to feel that the beat is, it's kind of like the down bow is going to be more. Even if we want to have that direction, it's much more about the feeling of the speed instead, it's like the momentum instead of dynamics. Okay, so for example, that's possible. Okay, can we do it from the second measure? Okay, good. And then also that one at the third measure on the second beat, I think the 32nd notes, it's kind of like it's just an addition. So you don't need to play it so, I'm not gonna say metronomic, but then I think it's kind of like it's just addition, and then it goes towards the third beat. So right now I hear every note. Okay, so how sometimes I imagine if we actually have a clear picture of the beats or the pulse that we have, it's kind of like saying words. Okay, so for example, if I tell you, how were you today? Okay, so it's easy for us to understand because we know that each word. But then if I start talking in letters, HOWAREYOUTODAY, I mean, you need to process everything first, and then you're just like, oh, I know what you're talking about now. You just said, how are you today? So, but then I think in music, if it's possible for us, is we need to think of them in groups instead of playing each note. It's kind of like, it's the same as how do these letters sound together, and then how do they form words, and how do they form phrases or sentences. Okay, right now I feel that you're speaking each letter correctly, and then it's very clear, but then maybe we just need to understand the word or the phrase a little bit better. Yes, so let's try it again from the second measure. Is that okay? Okay, good. So right now is I'm gonna make a differentiation between a stop, okay, if we stop, and then if we're taking a breath. Okay. So sometimes I feel that when you have a long note, like for example, in measure 6 on the trio, you actually stay there a little bit longer. It felt like that. So it felt like you stopped mid sentence. But then I think it's okay to take a breath there without being late on the third beat. So for example, if I'm gonna start on the fifth measure, okay, so my bowing is gonna be different from yours, which I think it's okay. I noticed that on when you have 4/16 notes, most of the time you do it 2 notes per bow, right? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So because I saw that, and then, right? And then, also, okay. So, since I talked a little bit about it last time, I can talk just tiny about it, that we just need to make sure that your bowing, whatever bowing that you choose, it has a certain type of phrasing or articulation that I would like to hear. So for example, on the 2 note per bow, I think that the second note to the third note, there has to be a little bit of space in between. So that means the second note should be a little bit lighter. So for example, on the fifth measure, it's, so it's not, so this one also, if it's 2 by 2, okay, so that's, I think this is something, a suggestion. But then if I'm gonna do a different one, 1 plus 3, then of course there's a little bit of separation from the first note. So we have an understanding of this group. Okay, so it's sometimes, it's like in a word, so the part of the reason why I'm saying that it's not so much important for me right now that there has to be a certain bowing. It's more about understanding the bowing that we choose and how it changes the articulation or phrasing. Okay, so for example, if I say beautiful, okay, so of course there, usually we say probably it's like beautiful. It's like the emphasis on the first syllable. Okay, we don't say beautiful or beautiful. Okay, but then sometimes in a phrase or in a sentence, we actually emphasize certain words. So, how are you today? To how are you today? How are you today? Okay, so they're all different. I use it's all the same words, but then we choose something that's a little bit different that you feel gives a different meaning to that phrase. Okay, so here if it's sorry, or it could be okay. So this my point that I was trying to make a point about stopping and then taking a breath. Okay, so this one I think it should still keep going because we haven't reached any cadence yet. Okay, so this that trill, that note should be this chord, but then we're actually going to the D major at the end of it, right? So that's actually in a dominant. So I don't think we should stop on that dominant, but then instead we need to keep going to our new tonic. Okay, so that one begin. Okay, so I think that's a little bit clearer for me in terms of where exactly are we going. Okay, can we try it a little bit from? Oh, by the way, I noticed on your video and then this time also that trill on measure 6. I think you should still start from the top. Okay, and then it's not just because in Baroque or classical, you always need to start from top, but maybe as I've mentioned before, like we need to actually hear that it's a dissonance going to consonance, so it's kind of like suspension going to a resolution. And then, of course, we're like, well, it's only one note, but then we know that there is an implied this A in the bottom, so it's like, kind of like 4 going to 3, so it's okay, so there's an implied A in the bottom. So and especially that it's on the second beat. So the emphasis on that dissonance, it helps us on the saraband. Okay, so let's do it from measure 5. Okay, so on measure 7, so we all have this just 16 notes. I think you can be a little bit more creative there. Okay, so even if you're gonna do all 2 notes per bow, that's okay. But then I think you need to be creative in terms of the direction, or you can actually just feel that okay, the direction or the melodic shape of the music. So for example, I'm going to the second beat, and then that somehow also is kind of like a high point. So again, as I said, it's more about being on time on the third beat, not being on time on the second eighth note of the second beat. So it's more about okay. So can we do it from that for measure 7? Okay, so I think, oh, sorry. So your bowing is like you have 4 notes? Yes? I think, okay. I think it doesn't matter. Okay, so for example, if it's 4, that's fine. So that means that you need to... So you can still have that time, okay? I would prefer that the emphasis will be on a down bow, but I think that's also okay. Okay, good. So I'll talk a little bit also about maybe it's like the bow distribution. Like I think you need to be more a little bit more obvious or more clear that if there is an emphasis that you actually use a little bit more, and then if it's not so much, you use much less. So for example, the last two notes. Okay, so it has something to do with the bow speed also. Okay, so can we continue on the second half, and then think of the same concept about the direction going to the second beat, and also not so much eighth note subdivision. Okay. Okay, good, good. Okay, sorry. So we go to this kind of like this E minor section. Okay, and then I think the next section goes to kind of like a little bit brighter mood again. Okay, so we need to have that kind of like space in between those two phrases so that we can kind of like clear out the air. Okay, so if I'm gonna start from measure 11, by the way, after the trill, I think it's just 16 notes, so it's not 30-second notes, right? So yes, okay, okay. So just be careful. Like for example, that's another example that we have this bass note going to like a soprano, you could say. So we don't need to rush because we have different voices. Okay, so we need to understand that it's not just one person singing. Okay, it's only one person playing, but then we have different voices that we can create. Okay, so also on the measure 9, okay, on the second half, because a little bit problem here is like getting into the second beat. We sometimes use a little bit too much here, so this becomes a little bit too loud. Okay, I think we just need the momentum, not necessarily the volume. Okay, so sometimes we need to have the space, but doesn't necessarily mean we need to stop, as I mentioned before. So for example, even if I play a scale, and if you lift your bow, okay, so I have spaces in between each note, but then I can still understand that that's one group. Okay, so if this is a real stop, of course. So we can kind of manipulate that we don't always have to hear the sound. We can also lift. Okay, so okay, and then also one thing that you can try to exploring is about the trills. Okay, so trills are, as we know, it's like ornamentation. Okay, so it doesn't have to be always played the same way. So a lot of times, if it's from a non-chord tone, then I think you should emphasize the dissonant note. So, for example, in measure 11, also we need to register what exactly is the note, the resolution, this note. So if we keep playing till the next note, so it's as if you played like a 30-second note or a 64th note. So we can actually have a little bit of space in between. So, or you can play that note also longer. Okay, so can we do it from the second half again? One more time. Okay. Well, sorry. I've again. It's kind of like I felt that you stopped on the first beat, but we need to go to the second beat. So. Okay. One more time. Okay, so that one is that the trill was a little bit too long. Okay, it doesn't matter if you want to connect it, but then I think we shouldn't change the rhythm so much. Also on the on measure 9, I think the second beat was a little bit too short this time. So okay, one more time. Three. Okay, continue. Okay, so I have a question. How much metronome practice do you do?
At least for at least in time allotted po is 40 minutes po in a piece.
With metronome?
Yes po.
Wow. Okay. So I think there are many ways, of course, to use the metronome. But I think for this one, I would say really try to do it on bigger pulse. Okay. And I would even maybe explore you play it much faster so that you can actually feel the like bigger phrases. So for example, if I'm going to do much faster, okay, so of course, I'm not suggesting that people should play this fast, but what I'm saying is that maybe we can actually feel the pulse better, okay? So we can actually understand the phrases a little bit better. Because just imagine if you're talking to someone and they really speak so slow that you already forgot what they're talking about. Okay, So we need to have that clear picture, because it's not about, as I imagine it, the dance, even though it's slow, the movements, it's like the pulse from this to another one, we can do so many ways. We can still be on time. Either we wait here and then we go to the next one right away, okay? Or the movement itself is very slow, okay? Or maybe it starts slow, but it goes fast, going to the next one, okay? So I think that's especially true for me when you have that added note, like the 30-second notes at the end, like on measure 13, for example. So I feel that needs to push to the second measure, to the second beat. So So I don't know. I think you can try to force yourself, maybe practice on a faster tempo, even use a metronome, but then put it in a bigger pulse. I don't know if it works if we do it in, okay. I don't think there's a metronome that, for example, at least I haven't tried, that if it's a 3/4, that it only gives you. Oh, I think it's possible because you can mute. It's kind of like you try to mute the third beat. So instead of having 3 beats, you only have 2 beats, and then the second beat is longer. So it becomes 1, 2, 1, 2. So we don't hear the third beat. You don't want to make it always that important. So for example, it becomes 2, 1, 2. Okay, so I think that's also a possibility. For this one, it's a little bit hard if we just do it 1 beat per measure. I think it's possible if we do it much faster, but I don't think it's necessary. So the pulse, in some ways, I think it's not just about keeping it in tempo, like a metronome, but actually it's also feeling how big or how small we feel the pulse. All right. So I think for the saraban, that's something that's a little bit tricky because of the tempo. So it's a little bit hard to get the groove of the music. But then at the same time, I think is you need to think of the character maybe of the saraban. That I don't think it's. Do you think it's sad, the character of the saraban?
Depends po ano po yung key niya. Since G major po siya, ano po, parang elegant lang po yung dating, yung present niya po.
Okay, I think so. I think it's very elegant, but I might also suggest that maybe give it a little bit of a sense of pride. Okay. Oh, there's a sense of pride. It's like wanting to go. You're a little bit more sure. Okay, so it's gonna be a little bit different maybe from the minor ones, like the D minor and the C minor one. Okay, that probably has a little bit more drama. But then I think there's a certainty to what you're doing. Kasi pag masyadong mabagal, sometimes what happens is that it's really hard to follow. Okay, so why don't we play the jig? This just the beginning of the jig. You played it also before, but then so for example in the jig, we could try the that's also possible. Or you can even try 2 measures. Okay, so it depends on how you want us to feel, but then it doesn't have to be always the same. Okay, just play four measures. Okay, of the G. Okay, good, good. Okay, so that's also possible. It's kind of like you kind of like try to rush us to the fourth measure. Okay, to that. Okay, so you could say that that's one group. So I think you can have a little bit more time maybe there. So it's a little bit clearer again that we have it in groups. Okay, or can you try it this time that it's very clear that it's per measure. So this. So maybe the second beat we'll try a little bit less. Yeah. Yes. Okay. I think you can try to have fun with it. So make it obvious that the second beat, this me, play a little bit less, but then okay, and then play the downbeat of the second measure more. So or you go towards that. So okay, one more time. Good, 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 good. Okay, okay. And then when we have this, when we're taking a breath in between, okay. So again, be careful that it's not a stop. It's more just I need to take a breath. Or in some ways, you can also imagine that it only feels like a stop if it feels like the music goes to the bottom. Okay. If you stop above, if you're still above, it feels like it still needs to continue. So this one, you're still up. It's not down. You understand? Okay, so, but that's kind of like you stop there. So, okay, from the third measure. Okay, can you give us a little bit more of a kick? Okay, so maybe play with a little bit less bow, but then a little bit kick on the second eighth note. You can say. Sorry. Right now, if okay, try slowly. Okay, so imagine that on the kick, it's kind of like a lift also of the bow. Okay, right now, your bow speed is almost the same here, so we need to have a little bit faster and then you lift. Okay, one more time. Okay, good, good. Okay, so of course those kicks, okay, when we have like a very fast action with a kick, usually that happens also with a lot of small muscles. Okay, so it's not gonna be the big muscles that are controlling. Okay, of course we have the big muscles to control the motion, down bow motion, but then the kick itself, a little bit more of the fingers. Okay, so okay, one more time. Okay, good, good. And then can we continue? Okay, good. So it's the first time that we actually go to kind of like a minorish section in measure 9. Okay, so we have, he didn't write, so, and then also somehow you also did a different bowing there. You did 3 notes per bow. And I think you did it, but then you can also have a different point of view that, oh, this is also different harmonically. So maybe I should play a little bit differently, like articulation wise. So a little bit, let's say, I don't want to go like sad and happy, but it's. And then you change your mind. Okay, it's kind of like something that's like, oh, yeah, it's okay. I don't mind. Okay, you kind of got a little bit worried here. And then you said, I don't care. Okay, so in some ways, the articulation or the bowing that you choose, I think it works. But then we can also have a different side, like the imagination of what exactly is the character and how should I approach like the articulation of the bowing that I chose. Okay, so for that section, I think it's really more about slower bow speed. So here I was saying that you need to have a kick, so you have a fast bow speed. Here it's a slow approach. So it's not. And then you go faster. Yes? Okay, can you try that? From. Okay, good. So just a suggestion, if it's possible to have the same position on each of the 3-note group. So for example, this is one position, another position, so that we don't hear too much shifting or whatever fingering. Okay, but I think it would be great if we can actually have that on one position, and then 2, and then 3. Okay? Okay, well, let's try it again. Good, good. Continue. Same here. So your bowing here is 2 plus 1, right? Yes? Okay. So the same, do, and then switch. Maybe the 3-note group be on the same position. Okay, now unless you do open string. No, that's also possible. Okay. So that doesn't work. So, and then switch to 4. Okay. So as much as possible, maybe just to say something about style. Okay. Okay, so I know that we're playing Baroque, and in some ways that we also need to understand is like, what does it mean to play something that's Baroque and then we're playing something that's romantic? How do we change in terms of our playing articulation, the choice of fingerings? Okay, what does it mean that we can't hear slides? Okay, we need to shift, but then what type of slides also is, I think it's more about the type of slides that we do. And as for me, it's if it's possible not to hear too much of the slides, because that one it creates a little bit of I guess it's kind of like unnecessary okay things that I think that's kind of like almost an ornamentation, and I think this one it should be a little bit more straightforward. That works also. Okay, can you do it slowly one time? Okay, so that one also, either you go, or if you're gonna do, that's also okay. Actually, in my point of view, is that it's okay to use open strings. Okay, open strings are beautiful. Okay, they're great sounds. Okay, have you heard Jean Guihen Queiroz, the cellist? Okay, he's like this French cellist. So it was my first time to hear that time to hear all Bach suites, number 1 to 6, in one concert. And then I think he's amazing cellist. And one of the things that you also notice right away is that he doesn't use as much vibrato. Okay, so for example, in terms of vibrato, how do we use it is also important, because each note that we play, there's already certain vibration to them. So for example, if we're tuning this one to 440, so that means there's like 440 vibration. So each note has their own. If we do vibrato, that's kind of like adding something else. So sometimes it gets a little bit confusing. So for him, it's like it needs to be a little bit more clear. So it's not. So if it's possible to do it kind of like a little bit cleaner fingering on that one. Okay? Yeah. Anyway, so I think because of time, and we still have like two more people. So for the jig, you can have fun doing kind of like a slightly similar to the saraband, but then you need to be very specific on where you want to put the accents. So for example, if it's always on the first beat, so you can feel that I'm trying to be a little bit less on the second beat. Or sometimes you want to do both beats strong. So, and then this one I'll change to just the first beat. Okay. Okay, but then one thing is that I try to avoid that the accent is not on the beat. So be careful that it doesn't sound. Okay, so that's something. Yeah. And you can do it with metronome, or you can do it without. But I think that's also something is important. Also, something about the kick that I was talking about. So if it's like a 2 16 notes but plus an 8th note, try to have the third note. So for example, okay, so kick doesn't mean accent, okay? So it's not, it's more of a fast lift from the string. to try to stop by lifting the ball. Okay?
Yes.
Do you have any? We'll do the question answer later. Okay, so for now, thank you. And then I think we'll have Jerome next playing the Alaman of the second suite. All right.
All right. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Sir Lonnie.
All
We're ready
right.
to go to the next one. Maya, please introduce.
Yes, sir.
Clartrom is a freshman at the University of Santo Tomas Conservatory of Music under the Bachelor of Music major in Performance in Cello. He joined the MSJO in 2018 and was a former member of the Lourdes College Strings in Cagayan de Oro City. In 2016, Clartrom was a semi-finalist at the National Music Competition for Young Artists Junior Strings category. He was a gold medal awardee in performing arts in senior high school. He has been under the tutelage of Professor Arnold Josue since 2015 and prior to this under Mr. Aristeo Solares from 2014 to 2015. To perform Aleman from Suite Number 2 in D minor for unaccompanied cello BWV 1008 by Bach, let's all welcome Clartrom Leonard Hakalan.
Great. Hold on a second. Okay. Okay. Good. Great to hear you again. I think I heard you play actually the jig last time. This time we have something that's different. Also, it's from the second suite. Um, this time I'm gonna do a little bit different in terms of the approach. It's like we're gonna try to recompose. Okay, so right now it's sometimes it's also good to try to see what probably the composer was thinking, or what are the things that kind of like makes this special. Okay, so I'll make an example for now. Okay, can you play from measure 9? Okay, and then third on the third beat, jump to measure 12. So don't play the third beat of measure 9. Instead, jump to measure 12. Okay, question, does it work?
Yes, it does.
It works, right? So for example, you can say, okay, so I have okay, so that means, what is this doing? What is that? So I think that's a surprise for us. And then you need to play it as if it's a surprise also for you. So when I say surprise, it's kind of like, whoa, why are we here? Why are we this? Why are we on this diminished chord? Okay, so that section, I think you need to play it like much more, and then you kind of got a little bit nervous. So it's not gonna be. That's a little bit too literal, I think. So we need to understand this, like harmonically, sometimes he could have jumped, go straight to the ending, but then he didn't. Okay, and then another thing that I want to try to recompose is that the places that I think we should be able to hear chords. So for example, from measure 3, okay, so we have this. What is the chord supposed to be here? So we have, so this is a dominant 7, and then you go to this third beat, which is, or third and fourth beat, it actually goes to, that's kind of like a G minor chord, okay? So that means that the C there, Do, it's actually a non-chord tone. It's again, it's F, but then the B flat is a non-chord tone. So I think we need to have an emphasis on those notes. So we have, and then it's kind of like a little bit major, but then more. Okay, so I think you can imagine that this one is special because we hear some of those chords. But then sometimes, even if it's just single notes, we can kind of like create either a bass line or maybe even harmony, like chords on this. So for example, maybe it's still the same, or so we already have here. And then what's this? So you can have some of that. Okay. can we just try a little bit again from the beginning? I noticed that maybe something that I've also asked before in terms of like what edition, and I'm guessing you're using, it's kind of like also from, is it from the internet?
Yes, sir. It's speakers.
Okay, so it's a little bit closer to maybe, because you have a lot of slurs. Okay, and then I like the slurs in terms of you want to sing. Okay, so I think you can make it a little bit more singing, but then if you have it a little bit less slur, so you can be more speaking. Okay, or it can be more like by groups. Okay, so in the original Ana Magdalena, you have a lot of them in the beginning. It's actually just 2 notes per bow. So, and then you have 3. Okay, so it kind of like all changes. Okay, but then sometimes what I tell my students is that we just need to make sure that the bowings that we choose or are given to us, we don't need to think of them as something that will magically help us do something musical. Okay, so for example, if I do on the second measure, the third beat and fourth beat, if I do it, actually, you slur it, right? Yes? Yes, okay. So for example, slurring it, it's kind of like easy because you feel like, okay, that's a group. But then you can also do it separately, but then still feel it as a group. So I think it's more about how we feel the groups and then doing difference, like the variations of this bowing in terms of the articulation. Yeah, because if we do it almost all the same, then the places where in the manuscript it's really written, like there's a lot of notes in one slur. For example, okay, so the meaning is going to be a little bit different this time. Or okay, so but it's okay. Can we try it again from beginning? I want to hear how you do it, like the shape of the music. Okay, thank you. Be careful that when you're playing chords, that doesn't mean that you need to stop. Okay. So for example, the begin. Think of if you're just playing the melody. You're probably okay. So it's a little bit stopping right now. The same with the second measure. So be careful with that. So it's the same because if you look at the elements of the other suites, it's going to be the same. Even from the violin, the D minor. So I think it's not so much about stop, but it's more of a, oh, I'm starting here and then I'm going forward. Okay. Also, it's like if you lift your bow without the stop, without really slowing down too much, you're also creating that, oh, I'm just taking a breath to the next one. Okay, so for example, on the third beat of the second measure, if you lift, but then it's still fast, it feels like you're still gonna go on. But then if you, then it feels like you're already stopping there. Okay. Yeah. I understand that that's kind of like one whole group, but then we're not yet done. Okay. So can we try again at the beginning? Okay, good. Okay, so again, remember that one, you need to sustain it. I think also the intensity of your sound. So you don't just play loud and then it's gone. Right, so, okay, so you need to make sure that there's some kind of sustain. And then also, sometimes on the dotted eighth notes, if you want to play longer, but then you don't want it to feel like it's stopping, you just need to make sure that the intensity feels like it's still going forward. One example is like on measure 5 on the third beat. So you have, so it doesn't have to be always the same. It can also be sustained, and then you can play it longer, but then it should feel like we're still going forward. So okay, and then also the same as I've mentioned before. I think you should still start from the top on the trill. So it's, yes. Okay. Can we do it from maybe from measure 5? Is that okay? Measure 5 is, yeah. Okay, can we do it again, Trome, and be a little bit more obvious. It's like, I want to stop a little bit on the third beat, but then don't, not stop. I want to emphasize that. Okay, it's okay for now. It's like, play it a little bit longer, but then sustain it. Okay, so when you reach that, try that your bow speed is not too fast. So okay, especially at the beginning. Okay, one more time from measure 9. Okay. So for this one, again, we're gonna sort of recompose, but not like how we did before. But then from the third beat of measure 10, can you play the melody for me? Are you sure? Are you sure? Okay, so yes, so we have it that you have different voicing. So and then now you have still this one from the previous one, but then from here we need to hear it's a middle voice, and then now we go again to the top. Okay, so here what I suggest is don't play this too much. I think it's more of a now it's the top. Because I'm not sure how it's written in your music, but in my music, it's very clear that the beaming is on the middle note, not on the top. Okay, so it's a little bit separate. So you know that that's a different voice. It's now. Okay, okay. So let's do it again from measure 10. Okay, good. So I think you can practice here is that try not to kick the top note, okay? Because it's the same with the second half of the alamat. It's not this one because okay. So we just need to make sure that you play it a little bit more even. So without. And then you need to leave that top note a little bit gently. Okay. Okay. Do it slowly one time and start directly from the third beat. So it's. Sorry, what's your bowing here? Okay, okay, and it's slurred. Okay, so the same. So that's a little bit tough because you feel that you need to release so that you can have enough bow for the rest of the 16th notes. But I think it's still possible. Yeah, try it slowly. Okay, good, good, good. Okay. And then, so the same on the second half. So okay, because you will encounter this a lot on the suites. When you have chords that it's not always obvious where the melody or which voice we should be hearing. And it's not always the top. But the thing about it is that we still in almost, you could say that at the performance practice at that time, chords are always played from the bottom, going to the top. So even if we're relieving the bottom, we can still follow that. So for example, in the Quran, I know that some people play it. Okay, okay, but then we still need to hear. Okay, so I think that's also important. So it's more about. So it's more about how we understand the voicing. Okay, so let's do the second half. Okay, so good. oh, this one is, there's a lot of things going on here. And I think we shouldn't, it's kind of like if you need to speak like this very big word, sometimes you need to kind of like slow it down so that you can enunciate each syllable correctly. Okay, and then I think this passage. I think we need to group them a little bit clearer. So, and the original, I think it's more of a 2-2, but then it's on the second 16th note. Okay, so that one we're a little bit more clear with the voicing. Okay, and then one thing also is like for the treatment of the trill. Okay, so I also talked to Julia a little bit about this, but since this one is not like the saraband where it's slow, it's a little bit more moving forward. So maybe the trill can be a little bit more direct. Like for example, on that, this one is like the measure 12 on the fourth beat. So yeah, because that one it feels like you want to stop. Okay, so just make sure. So it's a little bit more direct on those. Okay, one more time from the second half. Okay, good. Maybe Trom on measure 16. If you can try to imagine those are two, let's say it's like two cellists playing. So there's one cellist playing, and then one cellist, and then, okay. So you can, it's not just one person playing. Okay, so create something different. It can be something about dynamics. It can be something about articulation. Or it can be also something about your bowing. Okay. So for now, sorry, can you play that again from measure 16? I want to see your bowing again. Okay, okay. So now I understand. Okay. I think it has something to do with the bowing right now. You do that, right? Okay. Maybe it's because it's the same bowing. So you need to think of a different way to make it clear that it's different. Of course, you can try, because from how I hear it, it's one group. This one, the soul is actually part of the next group already. Okay, so right now your grouping is because of the bowing, which I think is fine, but then we need to think of a way that this one is different. So try doing dynamics, different dynamics. Okay, try doing. It's kind of like less on the first and third beat, and then more on the second and fourth beat. Okay, so I think besides having less and more, I think you need to articulate a little bit better, or I mean it's like there needs to be a space in between those groups. So here, and then, a little bit more obvious. You can also try the opposite. More on the bottom. That's also possible. Okay. Try it this time. So it's like more and then less, more, less. Okay. Okay. So which one do you like better?
Um, the first one should have the more dynamic score.
The first one, the top one is more.
The lower, the
Oh,
bottom.
the lower. Okay, I think this one it works well because of the bowing, because it's a down bow and it's more. The other one, I think it's possible, but then you need to work much harder because this is a down bow, and then if we want to do more on the up bow, so it needs to be much more obvious. So this, if it's more or less, then it's gonna be more natural for us, I guess. Yeah. But then again, as I said, it's like you need to kind of experiment, even try different bowings. Even if you try it like all separate, or it can be this group, and then okay. So whatever you choose, I think. Okay, and then let's continue from measure 17. Okay. Okay, so this one, another one is like when this one, it's when you slur a lot, I feel that we don't hear the voicing as clear. So for example, but actually there's already a lot of voicing that's a little bit different. So I think you can experiment on different bowings so that we can actually hear the different voices of this one. Okay. Okay, can we do it directly from 19? So okay, so sorry, Trom. Maybe what would work for you is that even if you use your bowing, doing the same bowing but then having the space in between so that you can actually jump between voices, it's okay. So for example, if so I'm using almost the same bowing, but then I have a space. So yeah, because I think the problem is like there's too much string crossing here, that the slurring them all together is a little bit hard. So we actually hear a lot of noise. So okay. Okay, so one more time. Okay, good. So sorry, I think my cello went out of it. Okay, so maybe try to analyze a little bit of how you can divide the voicing and then just play one voice. So, for example, in okay, let's say measure 22. Is it all the same? Or I think this is a little bit different already. And then this so I think you can change a little bit so that it's a little bit. This is different. And then and this is kind of just an afterthought. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's kind of like my suggestion. If you can have a little bit more of the different voicing, even with a lot of slurs. But then, even within a slur, don't be afraid to have space in between. Okay, so for example, in the I can do a hooked bowing, but then I still separated them. It doesn't have to be. So actually, I think that works also. Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Rome. So next we have Louis. Yes.
Go ahead, Maya. Introduce Louis, please.
Okay. Justin Vincent Luis Talusan started to play cello at the age of 7 and has been under the tutelage of Professor Arnold Josue since 2010. In 2016 and 2018, he was awarded an honorable mention at the National Music Competitions for Young Artists, Junior Strings category. Luis is an excellent sight reader and an experienced orchestra player. His first orchestra experience was with the Philippine Research for Developing Instrumental Soloists, or PREDIS, supported by Sister Mary Placid Abejo, OSP. In 2013, he was featured soloist of the PREDIS Chamber Orchestra and Malaysia's Kian Kok Orchestra performing Vivaldi's Concerto for two cellos with the Malaysian cellist Yap Yi under the baton of Professor Yap Ling. He had his debut recital in 2018 to the support of MSJO and Standard Insurance. Luis is a pioneer member and the principal cellist of the Manila Symphony Junior Orchestra. He was the principal cellist of the MSJO when the orchestra won at the Summa Cum Laude International Youth Music Festival competition in Vienna, Austria, and during MSJO's European concert tour. He was also the principal cellist and one of the featured soloists when MSJO performed at the Philippines-Korea Friendship Concert and Summer Out There Music Camp held in Korea in 2019. To perform the first movement of Joseph Haydn's Cello Concerto in C major, accompanied on the piano by Mr. Gabriel Frias, let's all welcome Justin Vincent Luis Talusan.
All right. This is my first time to hear Lewis, so I'm really happy to hear you play, and you recorded this also. So I'm glad you recorded because this time sometimes it was a little bit choppy, but then that's okay. Like I still got the gist of it, and then uh, I like that you have a very confident feeling when you play. Okay, and I like that very much. And then also I think that you have a good sense of tone, and also I think your vibrato. Okay, so and then these ones we're not gonna take away, but then I think we're gonna do a little bit of details. Okay, slightly detailed work, and in terms of so I think for most cellists, like kind of like learning, they're used to using a certain edition that actually it's by Rostropovich, and I think part of it was actually a little bit more recent that they found this concerto. Okay, so when they found this concerto, of course, everybody got excited, and then they made their additions, and then Rostropovich was one of the ones that kind of like with the I think it's like the international company that they had this edition published, and then there are certain I guess rhythm that it's correct, but then it's written differently on the manuscript. So I will show you one passage. So for example, this one. So for example, that one, in your music, it's probably all just 30-second notes, right? Yes. But if you can see on my music here, okay, so it's a little bit different. Okay. Can you see it? Yes? Okay. So there are a lot of these things. And then even, for example, so here, it's for example, it's this one. Okay, so those things, like we need to understand what they mean, not necessarily how it's played differently in terms of rhythm. The rhythm is correct, but then it's like the understanding of it harmonically. So for example, at that passage, okay, I'm going to use your finger. So that means this one should be emphasized. Oh, I know that you use it slurred, I think the whole one. Do you do it that way? 4 notes per ball? Okay, so it's good. Okay, so that means so you need to emphasize the first note of that slur. So, and then interestingly enough, also the end should also have that. At the do you have measure numbers?
Yes.
Okay, so for example, in measure 123, it should actually be the same. So it should be. It's not. Yeah. But anyway, so those are just certain things that if you get a chance. So the one that I'm using right now is the Henley edition. Okay, and then there's also an edition by Baron Reiter, but then the Baron Reiter doesn't have the piano and cello part. I only have the score, like the full orchestra score. So those are the closest, and then of course they will even tell you like from which, what are their sources before they print. So right now, of course, there's a lot of urtext. Okay, when they say urtext, it's kind of like coming from the original. Okay, so besides that, one thing that I also would like to maybe suggest is certain things on about different rhythm can also mean different characteristics in the music. So for example, in the middle section, in the development section, when you have, so that one I think was great. It's kind of like, oh, you have this kind of like very strong character, and then maybe you can change it on the sextuplets. So you can have a little bit more of a dialogue between those two different rhythms. Okay, but okay, sorry. I think we should do it again from the beginning, and then just to show you again from this edition, something that's a little bit different from the score is okay. Sorry, it's so this one, yada da da da. Da 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 da. Okay, so it's not just straight 30-second notes, but then again, there's an emphasis on the first note. Okay, so that's something. Also, I think be careful that sometimes on the small value, for example, on the second time you breathe, it becomes a little bit short. I think the character is a little bit different, but then we still need to have. Okay, so a little bit more meat on those notes. Okay, let's start from beginning, okay? Okay, so for example, this one, you'll be surprised on the original because yes, we are the solo here, but then this melody we already heard in the orchestra. Okay, so in the orchestra and the original, it's actually a hooked bowing. It's okay, so it's not okay. I think you can do the same bowing as what you're doing now, but then it just means that the dotted 16th notes don't play it too short. So we can still have. Okay, one more time. Okay, good. Okay, so I think what I'm just trying to say also, even though yes, they are dotted notes, but then I don't want it to sound a little bit too militaristic. Okay, it's not like a march type. It's not march. It's more of an elegant singing quality that it's more just excited. So and then that one also maybe go to the dominant and then less so that you can go back. Okay, one more time from beginning. Oh, okay, sorry. What I meant there is that this is still the same, but then it's more on the last one. So you still start on that chord and then just less. So it's more of a direction, not a group. Okay. So the first one, it's kind of like you could say it's moving forward, or for some people it's kind of like you're doing crescendo. And this is kind of like a diminuendo. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, good. Okay, just make sure that when you're doing those chords, it's almost like a reaction also to the orchestra, because you have the. So you want to kind of like react to that. So the last note maybe a little bit more. Maybe you shouldn't play too slow your bow speed. Still fast. Okay, let's do it directly from there. The chords, measure 24. last one. It's like when you do the chord, the beginning, also in the second time. Just keep in mind that you're featuring the melody, which is. So make sure that this one you don't make an accent too much on the bottom notes. Okay, so go. You can play it a little bit more wide, expand it, but then maybe not too hard. So and then okay, can you do it from the second one, measure 25? Okay, maybe for now it's okay. Maybe just the cello. We don't need the piano for now. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay. So in continuing to the next section, I think if the first section. I mean, what do you feel is the character in the first section?
Uh, um, I feel like it's kind of royalty, something like that.
Okay. And then what happens on measure 27?
It like it's like settles down to a lower part and becomes more melodic and more soft.
Okay, so I think you're thinking still a little bit too musically, like in terms musical terms. I want you to expand on thinking about if you're gonna explain it to people who don't know music. Okay, so for example, the second one you could say is a little bit more intimate. Okay, so you went to kind of like a different room. If it's like royalty, it's kind of like this is the grand ballroom. There's like a lot of people in the beginning. And this one is like you go to a different section that doesn't have a lot of people. Or, because you want to go to a little bit more quiet place, maybe. So the. Yes, but then you still get excited. Okay, let's start it from there, okay? Okay, so I was saying, sorry. Play a little bit more intimate, also in terms of the character. I'm not saying about dynamics, okay? I'm not saying that you need to play softer. You can definitely play softer. I mean, in the original, there's nothing written like dynamics, okay? There's no dynamics, but then we know that it's different. And I think you can maybe try that the beginning is like a lot of fast bow speeds, and this one is a little bit on the slower bow. So maybe even the attack in the beginning, it's not so. It's more. Okay, can you try it? Okay, good. I think it's already much better. Okay, so just make sure that when you have tied over notes, okay, that you need to speak the note clear on the note after the tied over. So for example, it's this. So usually we actually cut that note a little bit shorter. So same. This one is the one I was saying is it's okay. You play it more like an eighth note, and then okay, but then it can be longer also. But then the emphasis should be on the C, do. And then I noticed this one. I think you use a lot of 3 notes per bow, right? Okay. Okay, so just be careful there that because the 3 notes, 16 notes, it's gonna be kind of like it's gonna be faster rhythmically that you don't play too much in terms of your bow. So I change my bowing sometimes. Okay, so what I do there is like I don't need to don't feel obligated that you always need to go back to the frog. So for example, there, and then just there, not, and then you can go back later. Okay, can we do it from directly from there? Measure 31. Okay, good, good. When you have repeated notes, so for example in measure 32 and then also measure 33, you have this. Okay, you have that. Okay, just make sure that you play them as if you're going somewhere. Okay, so for example, this one. Okay, so just make sure that they're not all equal. You can do like a little bit different articulation also, maybe. Yeah, there are many possibilities, but then just make sure that there are not 5 notes. They're actually one group. Okay? Okay, so maybe from there.
Oops.
I don't know your bowing, sorry. Go ahead. Okay, so sorry. Since your bowing there is, so make sure that you don't spend too much bow on the up bows. So it feels like you're going somewhere. Okay. Okay, so this one is the same. Okay, so it's okay. So for example, this one on the orchestra, you have you can say the bottom note is a C. So you have that 4 to 3. So we need to kind of like have a clear feeling that that's kind of like it's more an appoggiatura, you could say. Okay, so and the same. Okay, so we need to have that, and then also be a little bit more playful with. Yeah, I think the articulation can have a little bit more sparkle in them. Yeah, I think usually what they say about Haydn's music is that it's Haydn is kind of like he likes to it's like whimsical, a little bit like a joke, but then not like Mozart type of joke. Okay. And then let's say Beethoven is like he gets angry like pretty fast, but or his jokes are a little bit more rough. So this one is like I think it can have that elegance, but then also a little bit lighter. So okay, so one more time. Directly from there. Okay, so make it obvious for us that the less here, because right now you're playing more, but this one is also a lot right now. So play less. Okay, one more time. From okay, good. Okay, I have a question. So, are you doing like a very clear forte piano there? So, and then less on the second one? Yes. Okay. So you can do it much more obvious, maybe with like different bowing. But then, if you're doing similar bowing, that's also okay. But then, when does it change? And I think that F natural, I think needs to be much more, because he could have written. But that's an F natural. So I think it's something that's we didn't expect. So make it obvious for us. So from the first one, maybe. Okay, just Louis, maybe just be careful that there's not that I hear a little bit too much of that slide. So I think you cut it. It's gonna. Okay, and then the left hand is correct. We need to have that feeling of going to the fourth position. But then we just need to make sure either that our bow stops. Okay, or we really lift the bow. Both are okay. But then if we kind of like leave the bow kind of like hanging on the string but not really stopping, then we hear that slide that I'm not sure if we really want. Okay, so because I think if it was an F sharp, maybe I would have considered that it's kind of like, but yeah, okay. From the second time. Okay, sorry. Because of the bowing that you do, you start on a down bow. Just make sure that you're not attacking this one. We're still going towards the long note. So, okay, I do the opposite bowing because I feel it's more natural, but I think it's also possible to do it in down. But then just make sure that you're not playing this too loud. Okay, one more time. Maybe just keep it on the same position and then extend on the D string. You don't need to keep shifting. So you keep it on the 8th position, and then second finger on the D string. And because the right now is what you're doing, it's maybe similar to the second half. But I think that's a little bit too much. Okay, so just stay in the position. Okay, so this one is, I think, special. Okay, because the rhythm. Okay, how do we describe this rhythm?
You can put it into words.
Okay, so this rhythm is special because it's the opposite of the dotted rhythm, right? Okay, and this one happens to, I guess, a part of it is maybe Haydn, since he worked a lot with the Esterházy, which is kind of like the Hungarian, Austro-Hungarian, right? And then you know there's a lot of musicians also that has that influence. That's a very Hungarian rhythm that you start from the para, para, para. So there's a strength. It needs to be strong. Okay, so it needs to be very strong in terms of the rhythm, I think. Okay, so you have that even in like Mozart violin concerto. You have that on the, I think, the Turkish number 5 on the 3rd movement. And then also in his string quartet. So this one I think is a very special rhythm. It's not. Okay, and then I think because of that, the second note needs to be a little bit longer. It's not cut off. Okay, so maybe from. Louis, can you try that you sustain the dotted 16th? Right now it's too short. Okay. This one, it's tricky. This fingering is tricky. So I know that some people, they just stay here. So you can do it all in the same, but then your fingering works, but then you need to make sure when you're gonna switch your finger. Like the, do you switch on the second one? Okay, so one of the suggestions that I have also here is that just do one shift. So the first one, keep, and then, so you only have one shift. Okay, so that's a possibility, so that you don't, and then you're kind of like looking for like the same note, but because it's a different fingering. Okay, so you can in the same position, and then go to the 8th position. Yeah, can you try it? Do it slowly. Two. And then go to the harmonic D. Harmonic. First finger. and then you're over there. Yes, yes. So basically, it's just two positions. And it's just those two positions. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, you could also work hard on your fingering. So, and I would suggest maybe switch here. Okay. Don't switch on the second one. Yeah, because it's a little bit. You need to establish that note first, and then you can look. That's also possible. Okay, so be careful just with that one. Okay, and then let's do it from directly from 46, or maybe a little bit before that. Maybe from there. Okay. So one thing that I sometimes notice is that I think you, especially when you reach the thumb position, you need to have your thumb as your guide. So avoid lifting your thumb, so you know exactly what position you are in, or like the form of your hand. So for example, so my thumb is still on the string. So you kind of like need to be very clear with that, because sometimes I think you kind of like lift a little bit. I don't know if it's because of a like a position thing, but then because we want to make sure that as much as possible, we need to have the thumb and the third finger that's kind of like an octave most of the time. So here. So we already know that we're in position for the next group. Okay? So, but then another solution, of course, is you don't need to shift. You just stay. So you can also just stay. I think, again, it's like the fingering that you're using, that's a Rostropovich fingering. So, and it's great, but then we're not Rostropovich. So it's a little bit tough. Yeah. Okay, so let's go to the second half. So the second, the development, I think it has a lot of similar things from the beginning. Okay, just need to make sure that play it a little bit, the beginning of the development. Okay, so this one is like one thing that I also noticed on your video. It's maybe you don't need to go to the 8th position. I know that you kind of like keep your thumb down, but then when do we go up? I think a lot of times I think of it as if you go beyond 7th position. I think this is kind of like more natural for us. Okay, so this. Okay, so it's like 2, 3 at the end. But then I also understand that because it's a different shape, like the form of the finger, of the hand, I try to also do a little bit different fingering. And then I do 1, 2, 1, 2, and then 2, 3. So that might be easier. Can you try it? No. And then from here, so 1, and then 2, 3. It's and then 1. Shift 1. I'll do it slowly. Shift. Yes. So, I mean, you don't need to do it. I'm just suggesting. But then, one thing is that we want to make sure that we shift where the note is longer. Because that time is we have time to do the shift. Okay, so other fingering sometimes it's like you shift on the fast note, so it's a little bit more dangerous. Yeah. And then this one is like I just want to make sure that my hand shape is the same, that the extension is from the first to the second finger. And the second to third is a half step. This one is whole step. So okay. Because the other one, so this one is a little bit tough because the whole step is here. So sometimes that's a little bit easier. Okay. And then the same with the next passage, which I think you do over here. So I think that's okay though. Okay. Okay. Let's do it again. Continue.
Sorry.
Okay, so I wasn't sure what the finger, but then keep on the same fingering on same position on each group. Of course, one same. Yeah. So anyway, that's fine. And then the next section, I think you should feel the change in harmony, because if we're gonna do it exactly the same as before. But it's different already. So so I need to feel it, especially on the second G. Okay, so that's something. It's just the timing, and then I like the fingering going to the second on the second string. Yeah, I also do it, but then of course that's a Rostropovich thing also. Okay, and then the next section. Can we try to do it? So this one is a little bit more aggressive, the 30-second notes. And then this one is a little bit lighter, or a little bit more, if you think of two characters, one is kind of like getting mad, angry, and then the other one is a little bit afraid. It's like, no, I didn't do it. Okay, can you try it?
Sorry.
Go ahead. Okay, good. Okay, so that one is also very clear for us because in the orchestra, the rhythm is going to support what you're doing also. So it's... So you can have it kind of like more aggressive. Okay, and then the next section, it's... Okay, so again, that bowing, Rostropovich, we should thank him. But then at the same time, it's like, why did you make it so hard for us? But that's also okay. Originally, there's nothing written. So for some, it's all just separate. You could say. And it's even written, it's there's a kind of like a wedge on each note. So But then I can also understand the bowing that you're using because that also supports what the orchestra, the rhythm of the orchestra. So we're actually featuring that. But then just make sure that when you have the slur on the third note is a little bit less. So you can, and then it's a little bit more separated. Okay, because the hard part there is like we need to return to the G string. Okay, can you do it slowly once? Okay, good. Okay, so that's very good. Okay, so the three notes. Okay, so maybe just think of them that it's becoming a little bit lighter at the end. So it's not too heavy. So okay, and then after that, you also need to kind of like kind of feel the harmony, the different harmony. So you start with A minor, and then you go to D, and then maybe a little bit G major is a little bit more relaxed, and then you go to the grandiose of the C major at the beginning. And then you go to the F major, which is a little bit more settled. But then you go to this diminished chord. So it becomes a little bit more tension there. So I think we just need to have like the, I don't know, you've seen a kaleidoscope, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it's kind of like you're turning it and it's kind of like just changing. And then some of them, it kind of like goes a little bit more in, some of them more out. Think of the different chords here as the same way so that you have different colors. Okay, so I think basically that section, it's more of a technical thing. So it shouldn't be, you don't need to overthink this section. Okay, and then one section that I feel I want to talk about is the ending of this development. So you have, what's your finger? Right? Okay, I think the top note, you need to, because this ending, I feel is kind of like someone got mad and then they just kind of like slammed the door at the end. Okay, so I think, and then it's kind of like jumping, and then okay, so you have that. So the top note, the mi, I think you just use a harmonic. Okay, so you don't need to. So I think that can also help you so that you're not worried about that. Of course, you still need to practice that. Yeah, can you do it slowly? Yes, and then really throw that. Okay. Okay, and then here, feature which voice you want. It could be, or both, maybe not so much. I think it's more this one and so that it's not so much each note, but then we hear like a dialogue between these two. The person who was kind of like a little bit afraid or a little bit worried at the end got fed up, and then they kind of like just slammed the doors, and then yeah. So I think that's kind of like character wise. Okay, and then the last section, it has a lot of similar things, of course, but then I just want to point out certain notes that I guess Rostropovich or whoever, like the editor, they changed it, but it should be in measure 103. The last note should already be a C sharp. So you have so that should be a C sharp already. So it's and then another one in measure 107. It's on the last beat. That should be a B flat. So you have, oh no, sorry, it's 108. So you have it's not a B natural. It's a B flat. Okay, so just that. Okay, and then the next section, I sometimes notice that when you go to the 8th position, so for example, because it's the same with the cadenza. You need to make sure that you know exactly your position there. Can we do it from 107? Okay. Okay, so just make sure there that I actually just switched after, so I had the same, and then I switched here. And then I like the direction that you're going to. But then I think keep this a little bit more suspense. So maybe the direction that you're giving, just a little bit more laid back. Okay. So the same as the character of the sextuplets. It's not aggressive. Okay. If it was maybe okay, so that's kind of like very different rhythm. So I think the rhythm will help us figure out that, oh, actually this is a little bit more relaxed. Okay, so maybe from here. Okay, so that one, my suggestion is the last one, shift already. Shift. So you're already in that position that you need to be in. Okay, so anyway, so I think in general, because of time, I'm gonna go to the cadenza. Okay, because this section has a lot of similar things also. Just remember that at the end, I guess technically it's supposed to be. Yeah. Or you can do finger. Yeah, so. Okay, so that's just what Haydn wrote. Okay, so the cadenza that you're playing, it's sometimes it's associated with Milos Sadlo, who is the Hungarian cellist, and this is kind of like they're saying this is his cadenza, but then I think this is also what they found. So a lot of people, they play their own cadenzas, like even Rostropovich. I also do my own cadenza, but on this one we kind of like need to understand the different characters of what you're doing. So for example, okay, so that's kind of like one section already. Because where's this? Where's that from?
It's from the first part.
First part. I think it's basically just what we've been doing. Okay, so it's kind of like a mixture of maybe a little bit of that. And then the next section already is different. Or you do. Okay, so I think it's just we need to organize it so that it's not just everything is the same. Okay. And then the last one also is like just the fingering on the last bit going up. I think you should, and then one. So you're already in the position. Okay, can you do it from? Sorry, I kind of like a little bit skipping. Can you do it from here? From here? Okay, so and then also I think maybe a little bit clear that it's a dotted rhythm. And then another one. Okay, one more time. Maybe directly from. So the same here. Make sure that stop the bow. So we don't want to hear too much of that slide. Okay, so just make sure that it's a little bit more clear. Okay, but I think for the for the purpose of learning also, it's like I suggest that you try to create your own cadenza. Yeah, I think just be creative. It's kind of like, okay, I will take from different passages, and then you don't need to really compose. It's more like I'm gonna take something from the music and then expand on it. Okay, so for example, if you want the section. Okay, so maybe some. So you can do several things, or you want it. It could be something that's different, or is it? Yeah. So it's just something. I think be creative with it, and then it becomes also kind of like your own. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Louis. I'm really happy to hear you play. Okay, so I think we're having like a I don't know questions or whatever, and
All
I'm
right. Wow. Thank you, Sir Lonnie. Congrats, Luis. Thank you, Sir Lonnie, for such a generous sharing of technique, music, and even music theory to all
okay.
our performers. Sir Arnold is here. Hi, Sir Arnold.
Hi, hello everyone.
Yan. So, MSJO, while we have Sir Lonnie here, if you have questions, just feel free to open your microphones. You just feel free to unmute and ask. Sir Lonnie is yeah, he rarely goes to the field. He's in a very nice country, one of the least affected by COVID-19, Taiwan.
Well, recently has there's a little bit of a spike, so we've been doing online also. It's kind
Oh,
of starting last week. We had like almost every day about 200 to 300.
oh,
Yeah, but
wow.
I think of course right now it's like we're trying to contain it,
Yes.
and but I'm hoping that so about 2 weeks ago actually I had a performance, and then I performed the Kabalevsky Cello Concert Number 2 with the school orchestra here at the Weiwo in uh, cultural. You could say it's like a hall here, and then we were supposed to also perform at school on May 11th. And then on the May 11th, it was Tuesday. So after our dress rehearsal, suddenly they're already saying that, oh, they're probably going to cancel the concert. But then we ended up not really canceling, but then we just didn't open it to the audience. So it's just for the school, since we still could do like a recording also. So, but hopefully, right now, I think we're kind of like almost 2,000 cases here, or almost 3,000 maybe. Yeah.
Okay, that's still less than the daily cases in the Philippines.
I understand. I understand. Yes.
Yeah. Questions? Anyone?
I'm gonna go closer.
All right.
Okay, you can ask anything about technique, music, or anything that you'd like to ask. I'm open.
Okay, Julian, you have a question?
Wala yata kayong question. Pwede naman Tagalog eh.
Oh, anyone you can ask. Luis, any from our performers? Any question from our performers?
Hello, sir. Question po, sir.
Yes.
So,
Who am I speaking to?
Julia po.
Okay, Julia. Yes.
Ano po, sir? How do you control the weight of your arm, especially for you to express the dynamics more skillfully or effectively?
Okay. Wow, that's a very heavy question. Okay, so it's kind of like controlling the weight, right? So recently, I I don't focus so much on how much weight, but more on actually the speed and also the location of the bow from the string, because normally we think of it as I guess there's a common thinking that when we play loud we need to be closer to to the bridge, and then when we play soft we need to play closer to the fingerboard, which of course is correct. But sometimes the problem with that is that when we play soft or when we play closer to the fingerboard, we have to have a certain bow speed. So that means it becomes a little bit faster. So for example, if I play closer to the bridge and I play slow, I can still play piano. I can still play softly. But then if I play the same bow speed close to the fingerboard, it doesn't work. It only cracks. Okay. So I think it's something about how we control. It's more about the bow speed, okay, and then understanding that each section will require the different weight and then also the different. I guess it's kind of like a galamian thing. It's more about the bow speed, and then you have the bow weight, and then also the bow sounding point, you could say. So I think with that you can kind of already experiment. And then one thing that maybe I can also add is like we need to understand the different angles that we're doing with a bow. Like for example, if I'm doing a down bow, if I'm angled a little bit down, there's natural the it's natural that the bow goes towards the bridge, and then you can change it, of course. But then on an up bow, sometimes the problem is on an up bow we do the same angle, then it goes the total opposite. It goes actually up. So we need to make sure that the angle is correct. Okay. So what I try to accomplish, like recently I have time also, I'm like reviewing a lot of etudes, and I'm trying to do a lot of things that even if I'm playing softly, I play a little bit more closer to the bridge. So it's something that we need to also be able to control. Yeah, it's because it's always doesn't matter. It's always easier to play here. But then the problem with playing up here is we always need to spend much more bow closer to the fingerboard. Yeah, I hope that answers the question. And any other questions?
Any other questions? Okay, si Julian Marcos Ong, you raise your hand again. Yes, open your video. Yeah.
Sorry, but I'm just really just here to say hello. That I'm also another cellist from the Manila Symphony Junior Orchestra. I don't really have anything to say, but I just really want to introduce myself to you, sir. Nice to meet you, and I really enjoyed your insights.
Thank you, and nice to meet you too, Julian. Hi.
Yeah, there many of our cellists are from Mindanao. So those two who played today, Julia and Trom are Cagayan de Oro, and Julian is from Davao.
Oh, okay.
Hold it. There is a confusion. Julian, confusion. Julian,
Okay.
I'm from Davao. From Davao
Okay,
City.
got it.
Hmm.
So
All right.
Julia is Cagayan de Oro, and then Julian is Davao. Okay.
All right. Who else? Okay. Well, if nobody has any more questions, I guess it's time now. Let's thank you very much, Sir Lonnie, for this time and for sharing everything. Even I'm not a cellist, I learned something, especially with the Bach and the Haydn. No, these are all standard pieces.
Yes.
Everybody, even the cello suites. I was forced to learn them because they're also played on viola.
Oh, yes,
And
yes.
I taught viola students with the suites, no? So thank you very much. Okay, we have final words from our host. Our host is also a cellist, no, Himaya.
Yes, I remember.
Okay,
We would like to thank Dr. Victor Koo for this great privilege and opportunity to mentor our MSJO cellists, Luis, Clartrom, and Talia. We are very grateful for your graciousness in sharing your knowledge and time with all of us. We would also like to express our deepest gratitude to our principal patron, Standard Insurance, for the unwavering support for this program. We also thank our beloved teachers, Ms. Sarah Maria Gonzalez, Sir Ivan Saraza, Sir Diomedes Saraza Jr., and Sir Arnold Hossa and Sir Jeffrey Solares for this wonderful initiative. Thank you all very much for participating in the MSJO International Masterclass Series 2021. We hope to see you next year. We hope to see you all again for our next programs. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you,
that's
sir.
it.
Bye
Tomorrow.
bye.
photo.
Okay.
Thank you, Lonnie.
Hopefully, we'll see you soon live.
Thank you, Lonnie. Thank you, Lonnie.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Okay. Okay.
Alright. Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, si Kirk. Hi, Kirk.
Okay, and